The following is a RackRadioShow.com exclusive.
And welcome back to The Rack right here on WildTalkRadio.com, brought to you by our friends over at Wrestling Figure Wednesdays. Go to youtube.com/MBG1211 for all your stop-motion wrestling action figure needs. Joining us right now is the man who will be taking part in the first ever GFW Next Gen Championship Tournament on July 24th in Las Vegas. Please welcome to the show the original playa from the Himalayas, Sonjay Dutt. How are you doing today?
Hi, how are you?
I'm just fine. I'm super excited to be talking to you. Now,
well, thank you.
How are you feeling? You know, in a couple weeks, you're going to be competing in a first ever tournament for the brand new company GFW. That's got to be exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to just be a part of something new on the ground floor, you know, on the first stages of this brand new company. And it's very similar to, 2003 when I started with TNA, and it was about barely a year old, and the same thing, Jeff Jarrett just started a new company, and I kind of climbed on board, and here we are, 2015, and we're doing it all over again.
Now, you competed in a few of the GFW shows in terms of the Grand Slam Tour, and what has it been like for you to compete at those shows, and kind of how do they compare to the traditional arena shows for you?
You know what, outside and outdoors is a completely different monster. You've got a lot of the elements to deal with, and just not sure of weather and other constraints, and it's just hard being outside, and noise travels all over the place, but it's a really cool atmosphere. It's a really fun time. We're trying to be the most fan interactive group that you possibly could go to a show for. You know, we've got VIP meet and greets at 5:30 right before bell time for an hour. Talent is very easily accessible. You know, nobody's hiding now, and everybody's kind of mingling with the fans, and it's a cool opportunity to get up and close fans that, sometimes I may not get the opportunity to at other shows.
Right, and kind of going back to what you mentioned about being on the ground floor of GFW, have you taken anything from when you were in the early days of TNA and brought that to the beginning stages of GFW, or is this kind of, you're taking this as it goes?
I think the presentation of the product is a little different. I guess very different. So I think with that, you know, you can't really predict on how things are going to go. But I do know that we've got an awesome roster, and I think at the end of the day, the one thing that separates a wrestling promotion from anybody else is its talent. So, you know, we've got a loaded lineup coming up next Friday on the first TV taping. The Grand Slam events we've got loaded lineups on that. It's not just worldwide international stars, but we're looking for the regional stars and the diamonds in the rough, those hidden gems that fans might not know about that need that stage to kind of shine.
Right, and staying on topic of that TV taping that's come up, what would it be like for you to become the first ever GFW Next Gen champion?
Oh, it'd be amazing. It'd be awesome. It's just like I said, being part of something brand new and being crowned the first ever anything is kind of cool, but especially in this environment where it's a style of wrestling that I kind of excel at and that I've kind of honed over the years and perfected. So, that kind of adds to it.
Right. And is it, because you were a huge star in TNA in terms of the X Division, is it similar
Correct.
to the X Division, or is it completely different? Because it's hard to gauge because we don't really know anything about GFW right now.
Absolutely. And I think that all that stuff is going to come to light, not just next Friday, but as the days and weeks go by. But I think it's a next gen division is going to be, very similar to the X Division, but we're trying to focus on the next generation of high flyers, the next generation of hybrid wrestlers out there that are out there, basically taking every different style there is of pro wrestling and meshing it together. And there's a lot of guys out there that have, traveled the world, much like myself. I perfected, your lucha style, your Japanese style, your American style. Let's bring all those styles together, and you got this one big hybrid style of wrestling. And we truly think that that's the next generation of pro wrestling. Gone are the days of the slow and I don't want to say boring, but action-based pro wrestling is the future, and we truly feel that action-based pro wrestling is the next generation.
Absolutely, and you mentioned Jeff and Karen Jarrett and how this is this has been a big deal for them. What was it like for you to see them show up on Impact Wrestling TV a few weeks ago, just out of the blue, and kind of promoting GFW?
I think it was crazy. I think it was probably the same reaction everybody else had, and what is going on here? And I'm sure that was going on through Jeff's mind as he was walking into that ring, and probably as he was in the ring, speaking his mind, thinking, what am I doing? But it's a crazy business. The wrestling business is a crazy business. So you cannot predict anything. You can't rule anything out. I guess time will tell what this brings to not only TNA, but to GFW as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know it was a crazy moment for me because I heard it and it was like, wait, what? Jeff Jarrett's going to be on Impact Wrestling TV? What?
Right. Absolutely.
It's like never say never, I guess.
Yep, that's the thing. This business is pretty nutty, and a lot of people say expect the unexpected, but I guess that's something you got to live by in pro wrestling.
Right, absolutely. So kind of looking back at your career in TNA and as you look forward to GFW, do you have a favorite moment that's kind of stood out for you?
Oh gosh, I'm so bad at answering the favorite questions. You know what? I don't know if I have a favorite. What's that?
First one that comes to mind then.
Well, I think as a whole, just my whole story, I guess my whole career has just been one big moment to me. I was a little kid that just watched wrestling, and never in a million years, even when I started going to wrestling school and training to be a wrestler in my first maybe year or two in the business, I never aspired to make a living off of it. I never aspired to become a star. I never aspired to any of that. I just loved pro wrestling. I now wanted to wrestle, and that was all I ever wanted. And it just kind of snowballed into this career, this big life that I just kind of got sucked into, and it's just been a crazy cool ride. And 15 countries later, and 15 years of wrestling, and this whole ride has just been amazing. So I mean, I don't know if there's one specific moment, but just the whole thing of this, my story of being a young kid, and literally from as far back as I can remember, I was watching wrestling on television, and then the next thing I know, I'm on television, and I'm working with the guys that I watched on television growing up, and also some of the relationships I made in wrestling. My best friend Jay Lethal. Thanks to wrestling, he's in my life. We wouldn't have been best friends if it wasn't for pro wrestling. So it's definitely a wild ride.
I would agree. And, he is your best buddy. And how are you feeling that he's now the ROH champion?
Amazing. It's amazing. Leading up to that match, we talk every day, and leading up to that match, I just kept telling him, I said, things are going to change, man. It's just another couple days, things are going to change, and I can't be more proud of him. I can't be more happy and proud that the world sees, basically what I've known for, since the day I met him, of, he is this talented. He literally, he says it in the ring, he is the best in the world.
I would 100% agree with him. Do you think he's going to be able to hold off the challengers for a little while?
Absolutely. I think when he crossed like that 6 months with the TV title, I said, Bubba, you ain't gonna lose that man. So, he's got one big one coming up, and I don't see him losing any of those belts anytime soon.
No, I don't think so either. So here's crossing the fingers. He's got him for a long, long, long while.
Absolutely.
So we've been hearing a lot on how GFW is looking to unite many different promotions from around the world and creating some intriguing matchups for the fans. As a world traveler yourself, who would you like to see come to GFW and compete, and who would you like to actually compete against? Let's
see. That's a tough one. There's so much good talent out there. Wow. Real tough question. I think right now, just the connection that Jeff had and GFW had with New Japan Pro Wrestling and producing the Tokyo Dome pay-per-view in January. I think North American fans were exposed to so much talent that they just didn't know existed. And, I've been a aficionado of the Japanese wrestling scene, and I spent, a year and a half of my life out there wrestling and was up close and personal with it. And some of those guys I would love to see over here: Okada, Nakamura, Ishii, Goto, Shibata. And we've gotten a taste of the Bullet Club here. We've gotten a taste of the Young Bucks in the Grand Slam tour. So I think those guys coming in here create so many fresh new matchups. We got the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion Kushida. He's going to be in Las Vegas next Friday, and getting that type of flavor in GFW is priceless. And there's a lot of guys out in Mexico as well, and they're getting exposed down there in California and in AAA and in Mexico. So a lot of high flyers out there that I would love to get in there with. Especially, let's see, Phoenix is one of my favorites.
And is it exciting for you to see New Japan kind of beginning to get a foothold here in the U.S. because they're becoming more and more popular with the more and more that U.S. fans are seeing?
Absolutely. I think it's awesome that different styles of pro wrestling are exposed to wrestling fans that may not have seen or even heard of these people before. I think that's it does nothing but good for pro wrestling as a whole. And who knows, it could be new wrestling fans that were born from that Tokyo Dome pay-per-view back in January, the Tokyo Dome show that, may not have known about that and just may not be interested in American pro wrestling style because it's a completely different style, and that Japanese style is a much better fit for, say, a fan that watches the UFC or an MMA.
Right. And kind of going back to the television taping, you're set to compete against Jigsaw for the first round of the tournament. What are your thoughts on him?
Jigsaw, he's a great guy. I've known Jigsaw for, I'd say, almost 10 years now. And 10 years ago, I was a completely different performer. He was a completely different performer. And even 10 years ago, I think he had just started wrestling almost. He was very new to pro wrestling as a whole. And I met him back then as a young kid. And fast forward. Back in 2012, when I made my return to Impact after being gone for a few years, he was my first matchup back on live on Impact, and we tore it up. And we came up in that Northeast independent scene, closely, and working all those independent shows because the Northeast is just a hotbed for independent wrestling. And we've crossed each other's paths many times, in and outside of the ring. So I think it's really cool to fast forward and just kind of all things come around, and he and I are going to be going at it for the next gen title next week in Las Vegas.
That isn't the only title that's going up for grabs. The global title is also going to be on the line. If you have to make a prediction, who would you say walks out as the first ever GFW global champion?
That's a tough one. I really like Nick Aldis, formerly known as Magnus. He's I've always kind of enjoyed everything about his work and the way he carries himself as a professional wrestler inside and outside of the ring. I think he's a real special performer, and he's got a real shot of starting fresh and showing the world what he can do. And maybe he didn't get that opportunity previously, and this is it. And a guy like Brian Myers, who again, maybe he wasn't given that ball that he deserves over the years, and this may be the time for him to grab that ball and kind of show the world what he can do.
I would agree, and I'm excited. I can't wait to see it. Hopefully we get to see it very, very soon.
Absolutely.
Crossing my fingers on that one because I'm excited for it, like I said. So, Sonjay, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Everybody, catch all the stars of Global Force Wrestling in Las Vegas on July 24th as they begin taping the GFW television series Amped. Log on to globalforcewrestling.com for more details. Sonjay, once again, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate you having me. And let's do it again soon. Thank you.
Absolutely.